This is the Standard Group Editors Podcast. The heavy hitters themselves. Gentlemen, introduce yourselves.
It's a good Friday.
Yes.
That's why I'm wearing red. My name is Ken Mijungu. I work for the KTN News brand and Standard Group, and an editor, and sometimes I read news.
Okay, Kipkoech Tanui. It's good to meet you again, Charles. What is Head of News and Group Executive Editor at the KTN Standard Group.
And I'm Charles Otieno. I'm one of the editors at Standard Group. I don't read news as Ken, and I don't head news as Tanui. Gentlemen, yesterday, serious things happened. The first time President William Ruto said he reflected and acted, and it was not all talk. There was action.
I'm happy about that because you should give us credit. Last week we said
Yes.
we were watching to see how far it will go.
Yes.
And we said that the situation that still obtains now is that Kenyans still are anxious and are watching keenly how far it will go in sustaining the route he has taken to ease this pressure. What he did yesterday has given Kenyans a safety valve in terms of easing the emotions and the pressures. But it's not done because there's a lot more. The biggest question now is who will be in that cabinet? How many will he recycle? Because he himself, by the stroke of the pen, has given a vote of no confidence on his cabinet by action. So if he were to return any of them, I think the biggest question will be on what basis. So it's got a big dilemma. And on the other hand, you will not, I think, want the government of newbies. People have just coming also to learn. This new cabinet, most of them had no corporate no political experience and playing corporate management. And so you find that they took long to learn and they were still learning. Now, are we going to start from scratch and bring in a coterie of friends and associates and backers of financiers of the presidency that we have now? I don't know, but I think Kenyans are watching.
So Ken, that walk the president made to the podium, and what Tanui is saying, who will he bring? And those guys were behind him. What did you say?
I think it's very lonely at the top.
Yeah.
What is happening to the president is the best definition of it's very lonely at the top. There are so many things that I read through what happened yesterday. And we have said it here before. We said in the last 2 weeks that what we call self-preservation mode kicked in, and the president has to save himself. The president must have pulled this. There was no option about it. He has so many people hanging on his coat, and they are not helping him. And that's the reason why we are here. So from the outset, Charles, I'd like to say this. The 21 cabinet secretaries that were dismissed yesterday, none has found it necessary to apologize to Kenyans. None. And secondly, to apologize to the president. They are thanking the president for the service. They're not apologizing for the reason why they are where they are. One, you failed. The president, and we spoke about it last week, said they could have done better.
Yes.
That's not the first time. The first time he spoke about it, he said, some of you, I know what's happening in your ministry more than you know.
Yes, more than you know.
So the president has been alive to the fact that these guys are not helping him. What Tanui said last week, only William advises Ruto and Ruto can advise.
William.
Meaning he has no one he can count on advice from. Right? So it had to happen. But from the outset, these guys need to apologize to Kenyans for failing them. And then secondly, they need to apologize to the president for failing the president and getting him to such an awkward situation that he has to. But then, how do we move forward? The question is, which way Kenya? It's a whole new world. Kenya has changed in a way that it's irreversible. This is ile barabara inasema punda ikianza kuteremka imeenda. You cannot stop it.
Yes.
You cannot stop it. So Kenya has changed, and I think it's changing for the better. And what I like about where we are as Kenyans today is a level of accountability. And that's where Tanui is by saying, now the next question is, who will be in the new cabinet, because the cabinet under Article 152 must be formed. So who will be in that new cabinet? Are we going to see new faces entirely? Are we going to see some other ones being recycled and coming back to the cabinet, just repositioned and given different position? And is that the fundamental question? Is that what Kenyans wanted? Is that what this Gen Z? Because nowadays, now everyone is Gen Z. Tanui is Gen Z, I'm Gen Z, you are Gen Z. So we are all Gen Z.
Yes.
Behind Gen Z is the face. But
Yes.
every Kenyan, these are things that we couldn't do. So every Kenyan is asking. Every Kenyan asked a question. Now the answer we need is to the question we asked, and that question will be answered ultimately, even when a new cabinet is formed. Did we ask for you to bring them back, or we asked for entirely a new cabinet that will assist you as the president of Kenya?
And that, the same thing you're saying, what next, Tanui and Ken? Do you think the Kenyans will and the Gen Z will be placated with any choice William makes as president now?
I think I'll put it this way first. For me,
Yeah.
You look at the Gen Zs are saying, yes, you've dissolved cabinet, but that's not our business.
Yeah.
We wanted, the ultimatums.
Yeah.
The most important is dealing with corruption right from the top to the bottom, the lowest rank of government. And therefore, that's why they're talking about parliament. There was the physical occupation of parliament, which was deterred using bullets.
Yeah.
But the MPs, because they have said clearly that by assent to the new bill sets the process of reconstituting IBC, and then they will come up with the recall clauses, and they will try and go for the MPs in person, each by constituency. So, and then there are the county governments. You've already seen what happened in Nandi.
Yeah.
The Gen Zs, the young people went there, and they got the governor to speak to them, and they asked the hard questions. I've had issues, Kericho, yesterday. Bomet, that town was a standstill, burning of tires. And in Bomet, it was more interesting because they were talking about the need for clean water in Bomet. And what Ken is talking about, accountability. They had only one agenda. Why do we have dirty water in Bomet? And they made one demand. And there are issues about in every governor should be worried.
Yeah.
So it is a motion that has started, and it will not end just with the cabinet alone. People want to see the way I hear a cleanup and an end to this corruption and wastefulness. I heard a senator talk about the Senator of Nyandarua, describing the nature of the convoy his governor had, how they arrived complete with a chase car. I don't think it will happen again. And I was asking Ken, maybe what is the county number? Migori's count?
Migori is 04044.
So it's very unlikely that if you go to Migori now, you'll outside some pubs, because it's Friday, you will see a county vehicle 044. In all plates. Yes, people have learned a lesson. The display, the opulence, the misuse of public resources has come to an end.
So you're saying that, Tanui, there are two things you're saying, that the opulence has gone. But how far is William willing to go? Because his cabinet, he's remaining with permanent secretaries, and he's remaining with other people who are running the ministry. And the prime cabinet secretary. And people are saying they should also as well go.
The reason I think why Musalia Mudavadi survived this is based on responsibility. I don't think it's based on anything else. He's the number 22, right? Because there are 21 who left. I think the president, in his opinion, and look at, for example, what the Standard is running today. We have a whole column of why these members of the cabinet were targeted. Why, for example, Nakumicho was wanted, right? Why Interior Cabinet Secretary was wanted. If you try to look at what Musalia Mudavadi, he's the only one who holds two mighty dockets in this government, being a prime cabinet secretary.
Which is unconstitutional.
Which is unconstitutional, regardless. There's so many unconstitutional things in this government. Do you want us to go
And
to
that's
that
what Tanui was saying,
yes,
that everything he does, the president, is challenged in court.
Yes. And remember, the IEBC Act that was signed barely 3 days ago is going to, there's another law that is supposed to make this position of prime cabinet secretary, once signed, a legal position, a constitutional position, right? So they're going to do it. They're going to get it. They will get it eventually. But the question you asked me about if everyone will be targeted, the president has no option to deal with on how to deal with Rigathi Gachagua. They're joined in the hip. The only way you can deal with Rigathi Gachagua is to take a motion of impeachment in Parliament. And with the majority side, he can do that. The only person who could have been touched was Musalia Mudavadi under Article 152, 5B of the Constitution, because the president has the prerogative to hire and fire, right? And I had this debate before I forget that the president cannot fire a cabinet just like that. No, it's the only thing the president cannot do is to appoint a cabinet without approval of Parliament. He will appoint, but the Parliament has to approve. But when it comes to firing, he can dismiss you, reassign you, relocate you, and everything. So he has those powers. So in this, he had no option. But I think it's based on the responsibilities that Musalia Mudavadi has more than anything else, right? And I think there is no one who has raised a finger against Musalia Mudavadi, right? And then the reason why the cabinet had to go, in my opinion, it's safer than cherry picking. It's safer to tell everyone, go home and let's rethink this, right? Than saying, Kenyans have a huge outcry on CS Interior because of the brutality and probably the banditry, right? Or Nakumicha because of how you handle the doctors and the people who've been on strike. Sorry, or someone else. So it was easy to dismiss everyone so that you start afresh, so that it doesn't look like you're victimizing and it doesn't look like it's because of the names that were called by Kenyans. So it was easy to send everyone home. Then we sit and reconstitute. Now, where we'll be heading with this conversation is, are they muting possibility that there will be in Kenya a serikali of national unity? That is where this conversation needs to go now. Because he said it himself, that he will consult with stakeholders and probably bring everyone on board. What does that mean?
He actually said a
broad-based
and
Yes.
all-inclusive government,
Yes.
and that is what has left people
Wondering, questioning, government or national unity.
Yeah. But for me, clearly, this is a process that has begun. So I don't want to charge the president on just one event, because it's a process that has begun, and he even did it himself. And I think he's alive to the fact that we've been on the wrong road with the wrong diagnosis of the problem, and now the prescription has to change. You could see the president, give credit to him. You could see he was beaten, he's humble, he's reflective. If you go back to the first speech that he made when he declared at night that they were criminals, I mean, at that time, I don't think he was alive to the magnitude of the problem and the rejection of the political elite that is running, is leading. So I think it's a process, and we are waiting to see. But we knowing Kenyans, the thirst for change will not be reversed by a single event. They will make more demands on the president. I think the president should be alive to that. He'll have to shake up his house. And
Tanui, don't you think that's the problem? Because how much more can we push the president to concede?
To shake, yeah.
Because
That's
we
the
get
same
one,
top.
you demand reject, it's
Then you
rejected.
get-
We say CAS suspended. We say IBC. You say this. Now you said cabinet is all. He's done it. The question, based on what you're saying, a single event satisfying Kenyans, will we be waking up and sleeping every day and there are new demands to the government, and how will they handle it? Because at the end of the day, they have a responsibility as a government.
if you ask these young people, they'll tell you, I've always said they are very rough on the president. They'll tell you, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Deal with it.
Deal with it. But these are demands. It's the obligation of the office in terms of distribution of jobs in giving it the face of Kenya, stopping wastefulness, duplication of roles, parastatals that do different things that are almost the same. I mean, they're saying tax us. You can only tax us after you have addressed the issue of squandering this money. People are living large.
Extremely large.
Extremely large.
Extremely
A minister
large.
talks about the pair of shoe of what, 80,000. Like
In a
it is,
TV show.
It's 8 shillings.
As the cheapest.
Yes.
He owns in his...
That's the cheapest.
And
He's
saying
asked-
it's
he's
my
asked-
weakness.
And he's asked about a wristwatch, and he says, "Oh, you mean the one that
I
I bought
bought.
myself? So who has been buying
The
it?
The other ones are more expensive.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the
The
ones
20
more expensive.
million
He
one.
said, my own money. Can you say, do you mean this shirt, Ken, or the one I bought myself?
Yeah.
I mean, it is, so that issue will not end.
You know, that was an admission, Tanui, that I indeed have that expensive watch that you talked about.
Yeah.
But it's not one I bought.
Someone
the
brought
most
it.
expensive I bought for myself is 900. But they are the other ones. So you've not been wrong on the price. But I didn't buy them. That was what you were saying.
Yes.
So who's this who's buying you a 3 million shilling watch?
And for what purpose?
So the thing is that people are asking the hard questions. For example, when the president said he didn't pay, Kenya didn't pay for that jet, and he said it was cheaper than Kenya Airways, but it was from France. And the question was asked, what did why did you, what did those friends get from you by giving our president a jet?
A $2 million
jet. Yeah. What do they expect in turn? In fact, it got more money for the president that he shouldn't even have told us that. But the thing is, the questions that are being asked are very hard, and the answers can only be proven by action. You can't, I mean, you cannot camouflage or lie to Kenyans anymore.
You can't, and I agree.
And the thing that I like most is wherever the president is now, he knows every of his action would be questioned. Kenyans interrogate. Kenyans want facts. Remember, the Gen Zs are in every office in this country. The young people. And I'm told it's not just Gen Zs. Everyone now is Gen Zs. Like
Kenya said.
you know, yeah. So they are,
by association.
You know, today I was told that engineers have been asked to come and protest the killing by police of that young man called Tencel at JKU. He was picked in parliament. The body was found in a dam around Thika. And they said this is an engineer's thing. Then they said, so who is an engineer? And they said whoever has shaken the remote and slapped the remote until it started working is qualified to be an engineer. So if you have
it's everyone.
So it's all of us. We are all engineers by virtue of shaking the remote, and it worked. So the thing is that the demand level for accountability, it's no longer just a word that we bandy around. They are gathering all these facts. These are people who are very techno-savvy. They are going to, they will come through these documents and government expenditure. I told you the other day, when you listen to the Gen Zs when they started, their interrogation of the finance bill was far superior than even some people that we work with. Even the questions we're asking in the editorial meeting room. They had gone through it, and we assume these children only watch TikTok, but they are very aggressive.
Extremely. So Ken and Tanui, with the way you're explaining, there's a song which says Anguka Nayo. If you can't satisfy them, will he anguka nayo?
I have seen the editorial cartoon in the Standard. Did you see it?
Yes.
So there's a Gen Z asking the president for something, and the president accedes. And then he tells the Gen Z, I got this right? Then the Gen Z behind him is a huge gorilla with the tag corruption, I think. So he tells the president again, anguka na. So in other words, you have done this part. This was a small part. Even if you look at the face of the president in that other request and this other face, it's totally different. He's grown old with white hair, you know. It's because the elephant in the room has not been dealt with. And I was just thinking yesterday when I was headed home, Charles, if this country can be, the reset button for this country can be pushed. One of the reasons why life is so expensive in this country is because of the imbalance in affordability. Tanui can afford a 100 million shilling house. I cannot afford it. I need that house. But the seller knows there are people in this country who will afford. The other day there was questions about how many high-rise apartments are coming up in Kileleshwa and in Kilimani belonging to these politicians, right? So they have made life so expensive. I went to South Africa last year. I was in Cape Town. I never saw a 4x4. I never saw, and if I saw, they cannot be. I did for my whole 1 week stay. I didn't see 5. 4x4s, huge 4x4s. Everyone drives a small car. But we all want to drive big cars because it's fashionable. So they've made life so expensive that we all think that I have to stay in an apartment in Kilimani to look cool. I have to drive a 4.7-liter car. I have to drive a Mercedes stretch limousine alone, right? Because of the kind of lifestyle these people have exposed us. Yet, we struggle to get ours. They have it easy, apart from just the fact that they're paid highly with our taxes. They squander our taxes. They eat our taxes. They budget for corruption. They get money to come in this country for projects that they find a way around. Eurobond came to this country. They can't account for more than a billion shilling. Where does this money go to? That is a question. It's because of this money they're able to get that lifestyle and make life so difficult. So yesterday I was asking myself, will we get to a place in this country that everything, the reset button has been pushed, that everything becomes normal, that there's no longer this aggressive, unnecessary competition to fit in, driven by a few people? Because now I don't want to go to Migori driving. I want to chopper. I want to drop. That's what I want, because it's fashionable. That's what these politicians. Now, where do I get that money? So life has become so expensive because of how these people have acclimatized and have made it look so that it's so fashionable to look for extra, to look for, I can't go for a rambe with my 20,000 because I'll ask someone who will come here with 2 million shillings in cash or 1 million shillings. And why? The time I'm struggling with the 1 million shillings, I had guests on the set the other day. A member of parliament said the much she can donate in a weekend for a single funeral is 2,000 shillings. And each time the constituents asked her, but wewe ile 2 million wanatoa, wewe una hii 2 million? Kasema, you know, I'm contributing in 100 funerals in a month. Times 2,000, that's 200,000. My salary, I am working within what I want. I think it's Asige who was telling us this story, Senator Asige. So I was looking at that. So I think we need to get to that point in this country that we have to reset everything and we have to behave like a country that wants to grow. And growing, remember, you have to crawl, then you walk, then you run. You can't just start. And that's where we are as a country right now.
So Ken, you've really put it very well. But Tanui, how do we, this reset, will Ruto achieve it? And how will he go with this reset Ken is talking about?
I have no answer at the moment. I think it's a matter of let's wait and see. But the thing, the thing that I really am happy about is for the last 2 years, it appeared unofficially that under the Ruto government, corruption has become a good career move. So long as you are not caught.
Yeah, super move.
Cases were falling, corruption cases were falling. Every day you wake up, this has happened, this has happened.
People are released, actually.
Yeah. It's like there was a bit of a license that it's not bad after all. Provided you don't kill the cow. Take a bit of it, take a bit of it. But it is now going to be, that display is Kenyans are turning against it. I was reading a story the other day in Narok during the burial of one of the boys, youths who were killed here. And the senator gave 100,000 shillings at the burial to help the family. And the committee of the youth said, take back your money. We've already sorted out the burial. Thank you very much. I don't think in Kenya today you've gone to burials where politicians monitoring at what point who has spoken and they land on chopper disrupting the burial or whatever meeting is going on.
I think that's stopped.
That's stopped. That's stopped. So if I was running an helicopter fleet chartering at the airport, I would be worried about that business. Where is it going? So what we are seeing is a process that will take time, but the president will win Kenyans if he sticks to that path that shows he is committed to it. It's not just cosmetic. It's what we talked about last week. That really, it's the turning point that we were headed this direction, it has to change. And this will mean a lot of things, either in the way he appoints people, the people that he is with. You see, if you are, the people that you are with have a certain reputation, and that's how you'll be known. So the president has to part company with people who bring certain package to him, that the only reason that he's with them is probably shares those traits. So the president is on a self-reflection and exercising himself of those costs that have taken him to where he is. I don't think the president is proud of what Sudi was doing on reflection. That you go and tell people 1, 2, 20 million, you know, I bring this from Tanzania as if it's magic. So all these things, the president is navigating a very difficult path. And this is, whatever he does now will be a real test of leadership. Because for the first time, Ken used the word accountability. The accountability level is so high. The interrogation, the questioning, everything he says. These are president, my friends, who has been told that we don't trust you. What you tell us
Yes.
is manipulation. Is not just a lie, but manipulation of facts and our minds. That you only do what is like more propaganda, the social media kind of diversionary tactics. So the president has been put in a position that every day he has to wake up to prove he's worth it. That is what counts. I don't think any president has had that burden before.
No.
That
Not
every
in this country.
he gives a statement, people immediately ask, do you think he means it? Do you think he means it? Do you think he'll do it? Is he playing us?
But Tanui, could it be because of his background that people thought that he's always said tutatenga, tutafanya, tuta? And as compared to the other presidents who are more forthright. And maybe, let me take you back. When Moi had a challenge, he jumped and joined the multipartyism. When Kibaki had a challenge, he dissolved the cabinet. How will this gentleman, William Ruto, react after this?
You know why it's difficult?
Yeah.
This is we are dealing with a new generation. The times are unprecedented. People are more woke. Social media is available. I mean, at the touch of a button, people are communicating in this country. It's a different time. Totally different. So it cannot work the way it worked previously when the late Moyo, the late Kibaki were in power. It's totally different. The person who came near to this was Uhuru Kenyatta. But remember, when people started asking for Uhuru Kenyatta for accountability,
He left
and
social media.
he left social media, exactly.
He's left social
when these
media.
young people began questioning a
He
lot
ran
of things.
off.
Yes. He said, I can't handle this.
Yes.
But I just remembered something
Yes.
when he was speaking. You know, I was there at Bomas of Kenya when President Ruto was declared winner. So before he went to the pavilion, there's a building named Pavilion for the interview that we had with him, the first interview before anything else. As we were waiting for him, I was with Duale, I was with Moses Kuri outside. They are my friends. So I spoke to Duale because in the year 2012, I was with Duale in Garissa. And at that time, it was called, and Duale told me, Ken, this thing, Jubilee is taking it. And he did. So even this election, I was with him, and he told me, Ken, this thing, Ruto is taking it. So what he told me that I also thought about yesterday was, Ken, Ruto is going to change this country. I'm telling you, and I can quote him, he's my friend. President Ruto is going to change this country. That is what Duale told me. What I didn't know is what he meant at that time, that Ruto's presidency is going to change this country. It's come to pass.
and you know,
It's come to pass. This country under Ruto
Will
has
change.
changed.
Yes.
We are never going back to where we left.
Tani, you said something.
no, I hope the change, I get the change he's talking about.
Yes.
Because they say if you don't manage change, change will change,
Change you, yes.
But unlike when you talk about past presidents, you know, we have had only one prescription by politicians for problems coming up, which is using money to divide the teams that are that are so-called leading it, who are suspected to be leading it. You remember Shigugu, State House, and Ugali and Amoy.
Yes.
Now these Gen Zs, who do you call to State House? The other day, the president called some few guys. I'm seeing a situation where, I'm seeing a situation where there is something that the worth of money in political transaction has been really, really deflated.
Yeah.
Yes, we all need money, but to use money, the confidential budget or whatever it is, to stem the rebellion against this isn't working, because who do you give, who don't you give? The MPs who took 2 million,
Yes.
some lost houses, some their cars were banned,
Yeah.
supermarkets banned, the others have not gone home. That 2 million has become a curse.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So some of them must be asking themselves, was it worth it?
It's not.
So the deployment of money to address any political grievance is getting diminished. And I think that the president has to look at other alternatives of this conflict resolution. You know, in conflict management, you identify the cause of the conflict. You must understand the conflict. Only then can you go through the steps. There are 5 C's, the steps. But in the end, there must be an agreement. And in this process, you must show goodwill. The president is on a tight leash, but the goodwill is what will take him through. If people really see that he means well. Because he's coming from a position where he let things, he did not de-escalate this problem. It let it build up. Talked of criminals, he let these people go around throwing their weight. So now to catch up with to win that trust back, you know, there's an American, a British minister called Elselton. He once said, and it may sound vulgar, but it's a real political anecdote, that in politics, as in said, in politics, trust is like virginity. You only lose it once. You'll never have an occasion to reclaim it again. You're either in this state or this state. And therefore, where the president is, he has to fight so hard to reclaim that national trust. To show he's the father of the nation, that he does not favor certain communities more than others, that the little that is on the table is shared across Kenyan homes, that he does not have a privileged class that can work and with impunity, loot money from parastatals, buy choppers. You know, when you imagine the cost of a chopper, forget, Kenyan can tell us.
Yes.
The cost of buying could be 100 million, 200 million. But the cost of maintenance, because you can't keep it in your home, the licenses,
yes,
the pilot alone might require the salary that an MP earns per month. So where is this extra money coming from? I had a preacher in Nandi saying that these days in his village, when they go, they don't ask, whose son is that who has put up this home? They ask, does he work, which county government does he work for? Or which parastatal and which department in the parastatal is work? Or are they friends of the president? There are monuments of corruption across the countries coming up. Huge buildings you can't believe. And this is what the president has to deal with, the perception.
And the good thing, or the bad thing, or the downside is he didn't start with Ruto, but he's taking the beating for it. He didn't. Most of these things were done during President Kenyatta also. I mean, a lot of money was also lost. Let's be candid and honest. During President Kenyatta's reign. But now, Kenyatta is gone. And he's quiet. I have never seen a more quiet man. I have never seen a more quiet man.
When
the
he's
guy is
needed to
enjoying his
speak.
nini at home. So they started, but who's taking the beating? For 2 reasons. One, he was with Kenyatta in the government.
Yes.
Secondly, most of those monies that got lost was during that 10 years. Right now, we've borrowed at 2
trillion, yes. Yeah.
But look at how much money was lost then, right? But I wanted to say this. I know you want to close. Is there a way out for President William Ruto?
Yes.
And Tanui, perhaps you will tell us. My thinking is this. The only way out for President Ruto is to reclaim back the legitimacy. They believe, they trust that Kenyans gave him as a president. He no longer has it. That is the truth. Kenyans are on their own. This country is being run from the street. What do I mean? When they wake up, they say dissolve cabinet. What do you do? When they wake up, say recall. What do you do? When they wake up and say reject, what do you do? It's being run from Kenyans under Article 1. They've taken back their power. The president no longer has it. Because all these decisions that the president is making based on pressure from outside, right, is because people have reclaimed their power. We no longer have parliament. Logically and legally, that parliament no longer exists. It's a form, it's a structure. It was breached. It was breached by the people. They took back their house. That was the thing. The president right now is acting from anything that he said from outside. He's no longer taking charge from State House. Tomorrow, these guys wake up and they tell the president, do this. and they can push because they have the power under Article 1, the president will have to listen to them. So the president has to go back to that position that he has claimed that legitimacy as a president back, and he holds it, and he can stand and tell Kenyans something and they will believe. Right now, unfortunately, he doesn't have it because of the events of yesterday. So how does he do it? This is a political solution. There must be a political solution. In more developed countries, prime ministers will say, it's my time. Let's transition. Let's find a way to take care of this country, a caretaker government for the next 6 months. Let's restart afresh. Let's restart so that they hand it back over to him. They've taken it. They hand it back over to him and start afresh. But right now, what will happen tomorrow?
We don't know. But anyway, Ken, before Tanui comes in, I wanted to ask you and Tanui, remember when, and this is Ruto's making, by the way, as a president, when he wanted these cabinet secretaries, Tanui, remember, or Pio Andai and John Badi said, if he wants his skunk, let him have it. So is it the problem of his making, or that's why the people are telling him, you brought this to your doorstep?
I'll simplify it. He'll complicate it. He can go into the details.
Yes.
But I'll simplify it.
Yeah.
The president nominates, Article 152.
Yes.
He nominates, he presents to Parliament for approval.
Yeah.
Before the approval of, before that approval, Ruto muscled Parliament and took a super majority. Finished. Kumalo. Alimaliza opposition. He took Jubilee and they had the majority. Robert just the other day in the Senate mentioned this thing before I joined voluntarily. You know, so he took majority because he wanted his agendas to sail through Parliament. Well, what Mbadi meant was, we know from where we sit, we cannot stop this train that has begun moving down the rail. So what happens if these are the people you want? This Parliament will give you these people. It's your skunk. You deal with it. That is what he meant. And that's exactly what
and in the formation of this cabinet, really, we all came to know out of this almost 30% of, 50% of the cabinet are people we had never had. We wouldn't. It's now that we are used to them.
Yes.
In terms of public, in the public space, what were they doing? What are they associated? What do they come with? The reason is it was a political negotiation in terms of people who are very close to the president were coming with the names. I'm told Tangula gave some. Because of the role he played, however minimal it was.
Yes.
Mudavadi came with this, Shikashagwa came with this. So it was not the people that the president knew directly.
It was a mishmash.
Yeah, people. You had the president now. He cash out the current police commissioner who's brought a lot.
Yes, who is this?
The IG.
Yeah.
He asked, so who is coming? And the mic picked it.
Yes.
And you are picking somebody who you've never known, not even on acting basis. And you're asking, who is this IG? So I think it is. I think I've said before.
Yeah.
I think this government spends so much time enjoying the joy, swimming in the tide of pride. We have succeeded, but the complexity of running government is something else altogether.
Yes. Suddenly,
the mechanics. So
suddenly,
look at it this way: the president a few months ago was scaling the international ladder to make Africa. To tower above African presidents, the youngest, best educated, most swift, very techno-savvy, you know, and he has a bigger understanding of Pan-Africanism and the place of Kenya and the world in the geopolitics. So, look at what Kenya now is, how Kenya now is influencing the world. Africa. It is not the president. It is how Kenyans are dealing with the president. So in Tanzania, they are worried. What will the Gen Zs do? In Nigeria, the same thing. In Ghana, the same thing. So Kenya is now trending the world over, not because of the president, but because of what the citizens are doing to manage their president. And happening just after he left White House, I don't think the president would ever go again to the White House.
White House, Switzerland, Italy.
The things associated with him. And by the way, we're happy because when the father is around, you know that he's addressing issues.
He's not
for the first time. We're clocking 4 weeks.
Actually,
without leaving the State House.
4 weeks.
Actually, I had an American journalist on TV coming up with that, repeating that accusation against Ruto that when he's not flying, he's lying. You know, I just laugh.
I think they borrowed that one.
No, they actually attributed to Kenya that the Kenyans have accused their president of
Yes.
that. So if that thing is how he's seen, so when he visits a place, he's seen, you know, people have been using very derogatory terms that he's an air hostess. You know, it's probably has something else. But
So,
the point is this,
yes.
that we have, unlike the issues that Uhuru dealt with,
Yeah.
Ruto's discredited Uhuru's government, but is dealing with a far much bigger problem than Uhuru,
Yeah.
where a certain political constituency with high stake and high networking that even towers above the intelligence services are marshalling and organizing themselves. If you look back, it's like the BlackBerry, the use of the BlackBerry in the Ukrainian revolution,
Yeah.
the so-called
The yellow
the
revolution.
yellow revolution.
Orange
Because
revolution.
a lot of things are moving without these guys catching it. Thank you.
So finally, and you've captured the orange revolution, and I'll bring you Raila Odinga's place in this.
I think it's time. Fortunately or unfortunately, I think Raila Odinga has no part to play in the current politics at all.
Yeah.
There is this young girl called Kanini who said Agwambo.
Anini.
Yes.
Kanini is the other one. You are confusing them.
Anini. I don't know the other one. So she said Agwambo ka nyumbani.
Yes.
When Ruto managed to bring the opposition and the government together at the KICC at the beginning of the week, and they took a decision, Raila Odinga believed that they would flow. I hear Raila Odinga's people went and negotiated with the William Ruto side for 3 positions in the cabinet and a host of other positions. That evening, or the following day, he was visited by 4 senators, Asigi, Sifuna, Eddie, and probably one more I'm forgetting. And there was also a lawyer there. And Raila tweeted and said, nimesikia. Nasikia mmesema mtaki handshake, na nimesikia. Kalonzo Musyoka distanced himself immediately from that dialogue. And from that time, things changed, because what happened at the KICC was something that we would have seen 4, 5, 6 years, 3 years ago. But it was not supposed to happen at this time. There's no way right now you can claim to bring Raila Odinga, William Ruto together to stabilize this country and remove this semblance of unrest in this country. It's no longer possible. The only way is to give what they're asking. And these people are not unreasonable. If they're asking you for accountability, if they're asking you to stop opulence, if they're asking you to stay in the country, if they're asking you to stop spending this money and asking us for more, those are very reasonable things. And that is the reason why Ruto made concessions. If these guys were asking, if these young people, if we, Gen Z, were asking for things that are unreasonable, believe me, the president would have called your bluff. But he sees reasonable. If you are asking dissolve your cabinet, and he goes as a president and admits they would have done better, he sees reason in it. So Raila Odinga has no place to play in this politics except to sit and watch. He cannot even purport to advise Ruto. And what Mbadi, his chairman of the party, said, let's allow Ruto to deal with his government. Raila Odinga, if he wants to run for election, he should wait for 2027. But right now, let's allow Ruto to run this government. Raila Odinga has no place in what's happening currently except to cheer on and tweet about it.
You know, Ken, one of the longest, most protracted war in business world was between Pepsi and Coca-Cola. They fought so hard about trademark, about the territory, about which is a better brand. It took them many years to realize that actually the enemy was water and coffee, not them. So that the product. So they ventured into water and coffee. Yeah, even today. This government, Ruto and his people have spent so much time thinking Raila is the problem, and if we negotiate, we'll have resolved this problem. So you missed that. Only for them to realize their enemies like Pepsi and water to Pepsi and coffee. that actually it is a different constituency that you do not know how to deal with, and that collectively, though you are fighting collectively, they don't like
Both of you.
Both of you.
Yes.
And so, in normal circumstances, we are used to every political crisis that Raila will be at the center of it. And you are right. In this one, he could be actually a victim. And it started with his own home, where his own child says, no, the only thing we share with you is our names. And
even people with the same exact names,
yes,
differ in opinion.
Yeah, Raila Odinga Jr. Differed with Raila Odinga Sr. at home. So I think the political class has to rethink about the engagement with this emerging group. If they register in the millions, they can render them irrelevant.
Gentlemen, I think you've captured it very well about the rethink and reflection. I don't know whether you have last words, Ken.
I think Kenya is at a good place right now, more than ever before. Let's just avoid the violence. Let's allow the economy to thrive, even as we sort out the political issues. But Kenya is at a good place.
Tanui, those wise sayings of yours.
No, there's no wise saying. The thing is, the president ought to know, and he must have known by now, that Kenyans have that beauty of rallying, of capacity to network and run and push their government. Yeah. So he needs to deliver. He needs to stay. They've put him to this plane has taken off and he's in the cockpit. He can't, the nearest airport, I don't know where it is. He has to take us to the destination. So, however much he sweats, however much the turbulence, whatever the dangers that are there, we are looking at him. Where is he taking us? We've given him the coordinates. He knows that this is
where we want to land.
Yeah. So, he asked to be the chief pilot. He has it.
So I agree with you, gentlemen. I think we landed our plane, but also you've reminded us of the way the president has always said, tutatenga, tutafanya. There's no time for that now. The work has begun.
Charles, it's 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years. This country, you work for only 2 years. First year, you're settling after election. Second and third year, you're working. Fourth year, you start your campaign.
For election.
Yeah. It's 2 years gone.
And thank the president that at least he has shown he listens. Whether it is
forced
social media or whatever it is, he's listening now.
Thank you, gentlemen, for showing up. I think it has been a wonderful show. Keep watching and listening.